Brownfield sites can be found throughout the state. They're basically what we consider either underutilized or unutilized sites that are sitting fallow in different communities.
That's Donald Martin with the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection's Office of Environmental Remediation.
Most of the properties that we're describing are sites that are valuable sites because of their location. That's why they were originally developed, and that's what makes them so attractive for redevelopment. Some of the hindrances have been, if nothing else, the perception of contaminants and concerns associated.
And that's what brought representatives from cities and towns from all across West Virginia to a recent Brownfields Conference in Morgantown. Brownfields redevelopment helps return blighted properties back into productive use, and representatives at the conference had the opportunity to network with others and attend presentations ranging from site assessment to grant writing and financing options to community branding. The conference is put on every year by the West Virginia Brownfields Assistance Centers. The Assistance Centers are located at West Virginia University, serving the state's northern and eastern counties, and at Marshall University, serving communities in the southern and western counties. Turning a brownfield site back into a community asset is often a complicated process, and that's where the assistance centers come in.
It is a huge undertaking for them, without question. What we try to do is to help play that role of helping them through that whole process. It is a mind-boggling process, especially when you get into some of your real advanced, really highly contaminated projects and trying to figure out what to do with them.
The West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection offers a voluntary remediation program which seeks to identify and address potential contamination at a given site. It also sets site cleanup standards and makes sure the site maintains those standards.
The risk-based cleanups are to address the contaminants, a concern that might be associated with the site, and utilize cleanup, physical cleanup, and/or engineering or land use controls to allow the property to be utilized.
It also takes planning and community involvement.
So many communities, it's simply a matter of, well, if we could just get some money and get rid of some of these old eyesores, then we'll do something. Well, we need to go a lot further with that. We've got to come up with a vision, a plan for redevelopment. What does that community need?
And that sometimes means taking a hard look in the mirror.
You look at what's there. What's the available infrastructure that's still there in place that can be reused? What's the property there? What are the reuse potentials for it? So take the things off the table that really don't fit, and then try to figure out what would be the best reuse of those properties and work toward that end.
Ronceverte, West Virginia was once a center of the timber industry in Greenbrier County and a regional rail hub. These days, the trains don't stop in Ronceverte, and much of the former commercial and industrial center sits empty and abandoned. But Ronceverte is a community with a plan.
We'd started with the redevelopment of downtown, looked at other expansion and annexations, but that brownfield piece was still there. So we took the opportunity to apply for an EPA brownfield grant, and we received it, and that has started our efforts with looking at our old industrial sites.
Ronceverte's Brownfields Area Revitalization Master Plan sees the future of the city as a regional recreation and arts destination. Part of that plan builds on two of the community's strengths: its location along the scenic Greenbrier River and its large community park.
The park itself is not a brownfield site, but there are brownfield sites that surround it. So we're kind of focusing on those brownfield sites that are in close proximity to be able to utilize those and tie those into the park usage, perhaps.
Right now, the town is conducting a feasibility study about creating an aquatic recreation center to replace the now closed community pool at one of two brownfield sites. The plan also calls for the rehabilitation of the now closed Chestnut Street Bridge for pedestrian and bicycle use to connect the downtown to the park. It also calls for transferring ownership of the historic C&O Railroad Depot from CSX to the city of Ronceverte for restoration and reuse as a restaurant, farmers market, and public gathering space. The city recently took over ownership of the former Lewisburg Wholesale Building, one of the sites being considered for the Aquatic Center. Other potential reuses include multifamily housing and artist space for crafts like pottery, ironworking, or glassmaking. It's an ambitious plan that's already showing results. More than a dozen new businesses have moved into town, and city leaders are seeing a change.
The finances in such a plan like this, it could take us 20, 25, 30 years before we are able to do all of these projects. But it gives us a roadmap, and it gives us a common goal, so that everybody everybody in the community is on board and says, yeah, this is what we need, this is what we want, we will all work towards this specifically. Even if this plan never comes to fruition entirely, parts of it will, but even if the entire thing doesn't come to fruition, the fact that it changed the attitude of a lot of people in town is priceless. And that is what this plan does, is it really fosters that sense of hope, and it really brings the community back together to say, hey, we still have potential here.
And what we found specifically with coming up with our planning and development, that this allows us then to apply for grants, because it shows that we've done the site preparation and everything. And yeah, I'd love to have seen everything happen overnight, but it didn't happen that way. But we are seeing the results of being patient, of thinking things out and working together as a team and with other partners to help make our development take place.
To learn more about the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection's Voluntary Remediation Program, please visit our website, dep.wv.gov. Additional information about working with brownfield properties can be found at the West Virginia Brownfields Assistance Center, wvbrownfields.org.